I'm excited to hand it over to you, David, to run us through some really great actionable wisdom information about comedy branding that anybody can use at any level. Like a beginner can use it, I can use it, 50 years in the business, I can use it. And that's what I love about it. So it's going to be a information packed webinar. It is sponsored by David himself, and it's going to be amazing. So sit back and plug your brain into the matrix and get that kung fu downloaded.
Well, thanks for the intro. I appreciate it, Scott.
Yeah, take it
I
away.
am, yeah. Well, I'm honored to be in the same room as Scott and all you amazing, talented comedians. Today's session is called the Comedy Brand Masterclass: 5 Foundations to Get Seen, Booked, and Paid. And so I like to start off with a very basic intro. If you're ready to get seen, booked, and paid, well, guess what? Even when you're not performing, you're in the right place. But let's be real. Being funny isn't enough anymore to have an outstanding comedy career. You could be the funniest comedian, but if no one knows you exist, you're really stuck grinding at the same level. And so I like to kind of simplify terms as much as possible. When people think of a brand, there's many definitions of it, but I like to go with as simple as possible, which is essentially how people feel and think about your business. And so when it comes to a comedy brand, it's essentially how people feel and think about your comedy business, right? We're trying to keep it super simple. And the truth is that you actually have control over your comedy brand. And the benefits of having an intentional comedy brand is that, number one, it makes you more bookable. It helps you build a loyal fan base, and it opens up revenue streams. And we're going to dive into all those areas today. The good news is you don't need to be a marketing expert. You just need the right foundation. And so I intentionally called this the 5 Foundations because we're going to talk through 5 specific foundations that every comedian and comedy professional could leverage. As a brief intro, my name is David Uribe. I have been a branding, design, and marketing professional for over 20 years. And in that time, I've also been a comedian, an improv performer, and what I call a silly content creator. I like to call myself a sillypreneur. And these days, I'm really focused on helping talented comedians rise to the top. So I actually run a comedy branding agency called comedybranding.com. And my value proposition is essentially turn your fans into lifelong customers. Because it's one thing to be able to get on stage and make people laugh, but it's another thing to really build your own audience and own your audience and sell more than just tickets and really feel like you can actually control your career. And so that's, I think, is the long-term goal for every comedy professional. And so this is the type of content I post about on a consistent basis. I on social media, on Instagram, I break down what the best professionals are doing. I also write content about what are some of the things that are holding back comedians from really excelling and going to the next level. And so you can follow along on Instagram at Comedy Branding. And these are the types of people that I help. I've worked with, comedians who have been on tour with Dave Chappelle for a decade. I've worked with the great Scott Dikkers. I was also a part of the upcoming, the most recent FunnyCon, the first of its kind. And I've just worked with a lot of great professionals. It's been a fun time working with my favorite type of people, funny people. And so if I had to define what I do, I like to say, simply put, I do brand ups for stand ups. I really try to help stand-ups really elevate their brand so that they stand out. And so I want to actually invite you to stick around to the end of the presentation because I have something really exciting that I want to share with you. I have put together, in collaboration with Scott, a bunch of high-value resources that I think you're absolutely going to love, and you definitely want to take advantage of it. So it's going to include, number one, today's replay. It's going to have a course on social media, and have swipe files that you can leverage. It's going to include comedy coaching and email templates and entire website wireframe, done for you meta ads, and even a comedy app. But we'll get into that at the end. So the main question I have for you is, are you tired of watching other comics land the gigs that you want? Maybe it feels like you're struggling to grow your audience online. Maybe it feels like you're posting daily but hearing crickets. and it feels like you're leaving money on the table, which makes you feel underrated. Well, don't you want to be in a place where you're actually headlining the shows that you know that you're capable of? Don't you want to make it easy to attract ideal fans and bookers and post content that actually grows your fan base? Don't you want to be in a place where you can actually create revenue beyond gigs so that you're not only getting paid every time you get on stage? I think, when I base off of the conversations I have with comedians all the time, it's clear that you want to be an industry act. I mean, that's why you got into it, right? Maybe you got into it because you wanted to see how funny you can be and you started making people laugh, but really the opportunity is to stand out in the industry as so many people have. The thing that you have to be mindful of as a comedian is that you're really always serving two specific audiences. You have bookers and fans, and something you always have to be mindful of. But they have very distinct things that they care about, right? A booker is concerned with, can you pull a crowd? Do you have proof that you're as funny as you say you are? Are you actually easy to work with as a professional? And ultimately, do you help my club's brand, right? Comedy bookers are business owners as well. Whereas fans are really concerned with, are you actually as funny as you say you are? Like, when are you performing? Maybe I can catch you when you're in town. If you are in town, is this going to be worth my investment? And who else is performing? Like, those are the things that naturally fans are thinking about. And so, as you saw in the title, today we're going to really talk about the main strategy, which is about getting seen, booked, and paid. And I like to think of it as a cycle, a flywheel that actually helps you do that. And so, if I had to kind of dive in for just a moment, people come into your hemisphere, your ecosystem as strangers, right? And the more they get to know you, they become prospects. Maybe they're like, oh, maybe I want to buy tickets. Then they actually become fans, and then ultimately they become your biggest promoters. And so this is true of the business world and definitely true of the comedy world, right? We want to move people. We want to help you get seen to getting booked to getting paid. And so if you think about every fan that you have as essentially one piece of your marketing army, that's the sweetest spot you can be in, right? Turn every fan into a lifelong customer and promoter. And so we're going to talk through the different phases that each piece has, right? So when we talk about being seen and being impossible to ignore, that's about having an unmistakable edge. What's unique about you that we need to put a spotlight on? It's about getting discoverable online, right? So much about how people find you now is about how you show up online. And this could be on social, this could be on your website. It's really about optimizing your presence online so people actually find you. And it's also about having undeniable proof, right? When somebody comes across your online presence, we want to give them the confidence that you actually know what you're doing and you're worth the investment of time and money. On the getting booked piece, it's really about having a converting website. Let's have a website that actually moves the needle and helps bookers book you and fans to buy tickets and to buy products from you. It's also about building a list, right? It's one thing for people to visit your site, but truthfully, if they just visit your site and leave, then they're probably never coming back. So there's a big opportunity in building your list as basically, I would call it your wallet of fans for a lifelong opportunity to stay engaged with them. And it's also about being response ready, right? When a booker reaches out or a fan reaches out, like, are you ready to engage with them? Some of us are much more comfortable on stage, but there is a business side to, actually responding when people are ready to activate you or pay you. And the last phase is really about getting paid. And this goes beyond getting paid to get on stage. This is about having personalized products that represent you, that represent your act, that connect with the fans who love you. It's about having monetized content. What if you were in a place where you can actually get paid just for posting content online? And what would that look like? And the holy grail, I would say, is a paid membership, right? If you have a growing list of fans and super fans, you really have an opportunity to monetize it and give them special access. And I'm going to get into those specifics. And so let's talk about the 5 foundations. I like to say that I have a beautifully framed pyramid scheme for you today. And it starts at the bottom with visual messaging. And so the reason I have it as a pyramid because all these things kind of stack on top of each other, and you'll see in a moment why. So the first foundation is really about your visual messaging. It's what are the words and the visuals that people associate with you that actually help you to stand out. The second phase is a website. What is the point and where's the home of your visual brand? And it should be a place where people can find you, find all the details they need about you, and ultimately convert them into either a booker or a fan for you. Once you have a website, then you can really start posting on social media with confidence, right? Because now you actually have a place to point them to. You actually have a brand that's been defined. And so when you're out there in the world posting content, whether it's reels or posts or carousels or anything, now people can pay attention and they have a clear place to go. But it's not enough to just have fans on social media because, as you know, the platforms want to keep people on the platforms. And so the real opportunity is for you to grow an email list that you can leverage to the end of your career, essentially. Like this is the most intimate space where you can actually nurture that relationship that you have with your fans in the long haul. And once you have that, then really it's much easier to put out offers so you can monetize. You can put out offers to your fans because they're paying attention. They're in your inbox as opposed to lost in the algorithms. And so I like to say that, when I look at these 5 foundations, this is what some comedians actually have. Like they don't really have visual messaging. Like maybe it's kind of by happenstance. Maybe they have a color that they use, but it's not really defined. I think a lot of comedians, if I had to, paint a broad stroke, is a lot of people go on stage with a t-shirt, maybe a hoodie, and that's pretty much it. You blend in with every other kind of casual comedian. Then a few comedians will actually have websites, but for the most part, a lot of them are broken, they're outdated, they're old, they're clunky, they're hard to look at on phones. I find that a lot of comedians actually stay stuck on social media. They spend a lot of their energy here. And it's rare that a comedian I meet is actually intentionally building an email list. And it's even more rare that they're actually putting out offers to their fans. And so I'm curious, Scott, is this something that you've seen as well? You've been in the comedy game for a while. What's been kind of your experience as you think about the landscape of comedians?
Yeah, you characterized it perfectly well. The vast majority of people in comedy are kind of spinning their wheels on social media and frustrated that they can't get traction there. And largely it's because they don't have that visual messaging. They don't have like a unified tone or look. They're not kind of capturing and sharpening their comedic voice that they're putting out there to maximize engagement so people kind of know what to expect. And sometimes I'll see people who are really ambitious and they'll make a book or they'll do a special, but there's no way to monetize it because they don't have that foundation. They don't have an email list. And the thing about an email list is that it's complicated and it's hard. And there's a lot of different tool options. And sometimes you get into them, it's like, oh my God, do I have to be like a computer programmer to figure out how to use this and set it up? And you see people who do it really well, top comedians who have a website, and then you get on their list and they're sending you texts and emails saying, hey, I'm coming to this, place, get my ticket. It's so easy, but getting there, like it feels really complicated. So I think people see it as kind of a mountain, to borrow your pyramid analogy. It's a mountain to climb to like figure out how to do all that stuff. And also it's expensive to put all that stuff together. Yeah. And so people, they totally feel stuck because they can do what they can do simply and they have access to, but how do they do some of these other more difficult things? They need a professional designer for the messaging. They need some sort of tech person to handle the email stuff. And like without an email list, you're not capturing your fans. The social media is so ephemeral. If you have any kind of following, they could disappear tomorrow. Those platforms could cancel your account. You don't own that audience. You can like blast out a message to them, but there's very little actual traction that you're going to get if you say, I'm doing a show. if they don't have a, email, it may seem old fashioned, but email is really the best way to connect and communicate with fans. It really does get real engagement because people open their emails and they see it as a legitimate form of communication. Whereas a kind of blasted out, bullhorn on social media is something most people just ignore. And they're in the habit of ignoring nowadays because there's just so much of that. So yeah,
Yeah.
I totally agree with all that.
Yeah, you set this up really well because if I had to say what most comedians actually have, like they don't have five foundations, they probably have two, right? They have
Right.
social media that they build everything on, and on there they might have a link for their website or a link for the email list, and you have to choose. And I'd say, that's more common than ever. There's that hustle 24/7 mentality on social media, and then you have to choose. But really, if I'm really, being totally honest, this is what it actually feels like. They have social media that they built everything on, and they have a link tree which has 27 buttons, and one of those buttons, maybe like the fifth one down, is your website. And so they're never going to choose. It's almost like if you go to the Cheesecake Factory and you get the menu, which is like 40 pages long, and you don't know what to do, so you have a kind of a slight panic attack. Like, put a 1 in the chat if you've ever had a panic attack at Cheesecake Factory because you're overwhelmed. This is what people do on social media. And, if you're a comedian, you're a one person business and you can't afford to confuse people. If you confuse, you lose. And so we're going to dive into all of this and more. And so I'm going to start with the visual messaging piece. And the goal here with visual messaging is make it instantly clear who you are and why people should care, right? So the main problem, I'd say, is that bookers and fans can't remember your name, your face, or your style. So how do we fix this? So, in really simple terms, you have an opportunity to define your signature visual identity. You have an opportunity to use recent professional photos to represent who you are today. And you can have a clear bio that actually sells you. So let's get into it a little bit deeper here. So in the chat, who is this? I'll give you like 5 seconds. I don't think it's going to take very long for somebody to know who this person is, right? Yeah, truthfully, you've already figured out it's Carrot Top, and he's seen better days, but he's unmistakably Carrot Top, right? And there's something really unique about his name, his positioning, right? His name says so much. It says a color, right? You associate Carrot Top with a certain ginger color, and his hairstyle is kind of wacky, right? He's like an actual Carrot Top. There's a lot that goes into your mind when you think about Carrot Top, including his comedy style, right? And it's very clear. There's no mistaking Carrot Top versus somebody else. Like, nobody would ever confuse Scott Dikkers with Carrot Top, right? There's very different. They're very different individuals.
Chime in there about Carrot Top, David.
Yeah.
He's a great example because he's been comedy's punching bag for 20 years. If you want to pull the name of like an embarrassing comic that nobody thinks is funny, you go for Carrot Top. And that is so unfair and inaccurate and foolish because Carrot Top is one of the top earning comedians in the business. He performs in Vegas. He kills at every show. And he's a very high EQ performer. Like, he doesn't let any of that hate get to him. But if you don't like his comedy, like if you think prop comedy is hack, for example, he's a prop comic, which is out of fashion and has been the entire time he's been doing it. You can say, oh, he's terrible. And I would grant you, okay, you can think he's terrible. Look at how successful he's being. Do you think it's his terrible comedy that's making him successful? Or is it his immediately identifiable brand and voice and him checking all the boxes of doing it right? Imagine if you, with your far superior comedy, checked all the boxes. Where could you be? So yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah. And I love pointing that example because he's a great visual character. There's another one right here, right? Gabriel Iglesias. Few people actually even know him as Gabriel Iglesias. They actually know him for one word, and you probably already figured out what it is. Put it in the chat if you haven't yet. But it's the word fluffy. He describes himself with this word that you don't see anywhere else, right? And there's something very unique about his visual messaging. number one, his head is always gigantic in all of his specials. He's always wearing some really bright and bubbly shirt. His photos are always like him smiling and goofy and happy. Like he's not. You can obviously tell he's not an angry comic. You're going to be uplifted when you watch his stuff. There's a certain level of silliness, and again, this is an intentional decision to lean in on what maybe somebody might be ashamed of, right? Maybe I'm a bigger dude and I kind of want to hide behind that. But as comedians, you know that the more you lean into the things that make you unique, the more you lean into the things that make you weird, like the better opportunity you have to actually stand out. And so I love him as an example. Nate Bargatze, right? He's kind of the greatest average American, but he's very self-aware. He called his book Big Dumb Eyes. He's on the Big Dumb Eyes tour, right? Here's a man who can be kind of the opposite of Carrot Top, but he's very self-aware of like his kind of Southern drawl and the thing that people notice when they see him. And so again, just some examples. Another example.
Sorry, David, quick backup to Nate Bargatze and how smart he is at branding. So he told his agents about his book idea and he said, it's called Big Dumb Eyes. And they were like, that's a terrible title. What are you talking about? We can't call it that. And they thought he meant big demise. And they were like, that doesn't make any sense. What is that? And he explains it. And of course, it's very simple, clear, binary, one level of accessibility that you see it on his face, you see it on the book title, you see it on the tour name, and super smart. Like everybody's overcomplicating things. That's all. Just want to throw that in there.
Yeah. Another great example is Leslie Robb. I've interacted with her, seen her. If you had to guess, if you don't know Leslie, if you had to guess what's her niche audience, you could probably figure it out just by looking at this graphic, right? There's, school paper, there's stickers, this kind of Lisa Frank kind of color scheme. She's very much in the educator niche, right? She's a teacher. And there are comedy tours just focused on the education space. Like there's the Bored Teachers Tour. And so she has made an intentional decision to just double down on the thing that makes her unique. She comes from the education background and she's leaning into it. Bob Smiley is one of my premier clients. He is really known for kind of having a zany kind of, high amounts of jokes per minute, but he performs primarily for churches and Christian organizations. So even as we put together this graphic for him, we were intentional in signaling that he has a dry bar special. In fact, he has like 3 or 4. He's been a part of comedy festivals, Focus on the Family, and Tim Hawkins. Like these are brands and organizations that people that he serves really well would recognize. And so we're doing everything to make him like irresistible for that target audience. And so it's not just the words, it's not just the visuals, it's the words you use, right? So this is the bio that we put together for him on his website, because we don't want to bore people with all the unnecessary details, but we want to be really clear about, his experience, right? Bob Smiley brings over 27 years of experience, dry bar, podcasts. He has a book series and a podcast series. He's done voiceover work. And we end with a kind of a funny little sentence, right? So, it's about not overcomplicating it. I think Scott said earlier, you want to simplify, and that can serve you really well. So that's it for visual messaging. Anything you want to add to that, Bob? Scott? Bob.
It's a great bunch of examples. And it's a lot of these examples are people who, like, it may not be your style of comedy. It may not be your niche. There are so many niches that haven't been filled, that are wide open, that are just like anybody's for the taking. It can get daunting when you look at how many people are out there promoting their comedy, how many people are on social media, how many people are doing it well and doing it right. And it can feel like, I'll never get there. They've got everything handled. They're so far ahead of me. And there's so many, like I'm a drop in the ocean. And what you have to realize is that that's just not true. That's not accurate. The amount of comedians out there promoting themselves competently and well pales in comparison. They're just a minuscule, like infinitesimal fraction of the amount of people who want comedy. Like that is a huge universe of people, and you can think of the weirdest, craziest niche you want, and if it's simple and it's clear, you're going to find people. There's an audience out there that's waiting for that, and it's wide open for you. Like getting over that mindset of it's crowded, people won't find me because it's too loud. That's not how social media works.
Yeah. I'd invite everyone here who's live in the chat to write what's the industry you've worked in outside of comedy, because there's an opportunity for you to really think about, I already know things about a certain industry, whether it's like I've worked in this professionally or there's a certain angle of my life. I want to invite you to type in the chat, like, what's the industry that you've served in? Even if you haven't served them in comedy yet, there's something unique about you. All right, we're going to move on to website. And so having a website strategy is really about making it easy for bookers and fans to say yes. Again, I want to oversimplify this, right? The main problem is that you have a website, but maybe it's missing, it's confusing or overwhelming. Like, these are the things that I see all the time. And so how do we fix this? Number one is having a clean, mobile-friendly site with a simple URL. It's about having a clear structure that actually converts, and having something as simple as a booking form so that you can really leverage the inquiries that are going to be coming your way. And so I'm going to show Bob again, because this is what Bob's website looked when we first met. And, there's something interesting about this. I think there's probably a couple of things that stand out when you look at this. Like, oh man, this is actually a cool design, right? There's a lot of personality in it. He has a really kind of fun face. There's a kind of comic theme. But if you had to guess, how do you visit his, how do you book him? If you had to guess on this page, like, how do you get there? And yeah, go ahead, Scott. How do you think you would get there?
Yeah, you click on, and also the vibe looks sort of like Patton Oswalt, like alternative comedy. It doesn't look like clean Christian comedy, which is his niche, at all.
Yeah. Listen, it's cool, but the problem is the navigation is in the middle of the page. How many of you have ever visited a website where the navigation is right in the middle instead of the top? And so this was actually a nightmare to visit on a phone, because not only was the navigation in the middle, you had to pinch and zoom to even read, like, what store booking, So Bob was very aware of this, and so he was happy that we were able to work together. And so essentially what we did is we really try to simplify his web presence and really define, who he serves. And so since he's a clean comedian, we really wanted to define in just a few words that he has high energy comedy that's accessible for everyone, right? And so he didn't want to only do Christian organizations, but he wanted to make sure that he was definitely accessible to them and for any other venues that, really want clean comedy. And so this is kind of a quick scan of what his website looked like when we were done. We have his upcoming dates. We had an easy way for people to join his email list. We listed his specials, which there are even more now. We had his quick bio. We had testimonials, so people understand like that they love him. And we also referenced his podcast and book series called The Average Boy. And we ended with a very clear, call to action to follow him on social media, right? So that's just one example. Azar Usman is another one of my clients, and he has probably two of the best quotes that you can have in comedy. Number one is a quote from Dave Chappelle that says, Azar is untouchable. He's like a comedian from the future. Like when you have a quote, a testimonial like that from one of the greatest comedians of all time, like that does so much work for you, right? The other one is from CNN. It says, America's funniest Muslim. I mean, like, we didn't really have to define much after that, because so much of the heavy lifting was done by really reputable sources. So if you have great testimonials, if people have written really positive comments or sent you emails or said quotes about you, you can actually leverage that in a very unique way. And the other thing that's working on Azar's website is we really referenced places that he's performed, right? The Comedy Cellar, he's actually written and produced for shows on Netflix and Marvel and Prime Video and Hulu. So, a big part of his career has been behind the scenes on the production and writing side. But we also made sure to intentionally show comedy clubs that are recognizable, right? So we're speaking to many audiences here with very simple things, right? Just logos. And so when you actually go to his booking page, this is what it looks like. We actually wrote a special paragraph just for bookers, and we're thinking, what are bookers thinking about? Well, the main headline we use is why book Azar, and we defined it. Why he's a great act to have in your organization, especially if you're a Muslim organization, and that tends to be the people who are booking him. These would be Muslim fundraisers, Muslim foundations. Like, he's becoming the go-to guy for Muslim comedy entertainment. And if you think about when somebody is looking for a Muslim comedian, like, they're going to be searching, funny Muslim. Well, guess what? He has the funniest Muslim in America tagline from CNN. So again, we're really leveraging not only his visual messaging, but we're putting it all in his website. So when bookers are coming and they're interested, they have a really good, easy place to find his information. And so we actually intentionally build a little bit of friction into his form because if you only have what most comedians have as a form, it's really just like name, email, and message. Number one, that attracts a lot of spam bots. And number two, you actually end up going back and forth with emails of people who want to actually book you. So we collect the most basic helpful information so that when he's ready to talk to the inquiring booker, he has everything he needs to negotiate, right? He can close a deal on the phone because he knows what they need, and it's very simple. So that's it for website. We're going to keep moving on to social media. Any thoughts on what so far on the website piece, Scott?
No, I'm loving it.
Okay. So let's talk about social media. The main goal here is to grow your fan base without having to beg for attention. And so what's the main problem? Your feed is forgettable and fans don't follow and bookers don't care. Like, this is kind of the pain points that I hear all the time. And so how do we fix this? Number one is optimizing your bio so you're impossible to ignore. Number two is branding your content and having clear calls to action. And number three is actually leveraging automation. We're going to dive into those three. So I'd say the easiest win you can do on social media is to showcase your face. Like, so many comedians have photos of them on stage at the Laugh Factory or something where you can't even tell who they are. You have to kind of like squint and like, is that Bob? Is that Leslie? I can't tell who that is. The easiest win you can do is to have a great photo of your face and ideally have a signature color. Like when we talked about visual messaging, a big part of visual messaging is defining the colors and words, and this is a great place to showcase that. And in addition to having a good avatar, it's really leveraging the banner space that a lot of these platforms give you, right? So Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter or X, they all give you space for you to have a banner. And you can almost have to think of it as billboards on a highway, right? This is a great place for you to showcase a logo, to have some social proof, to reference any logos of organizations that have hired you in the past. And so it's always fun to show these because, like, Frank Lucero, gets to show that he was on the Tonight Show and Jimmy Kimmel Live and the Laugh Factory. Like, he has a very unique kind of music-oriented comedy brand. And so we're really leveraging his banner to showcase that. And so in addition to the banner, it's about really leveraging what the platforms give you as a space to define your comedy, right? So again, Leslie does a great job of showing in just a few bullet points and words, like what kind of comedian she is, right? It's clear that she's a teacher and comedic and motivational speaker. So she, there's no mystery about what Leslie does, what she brings to the table. Teacher comedy and tips, loving on teachers, touring worldwide. She even links to her manager. Like, so much of what bookers are looking for is right here, and you can do that too. And so you can actually have a formula that I like to use is, have your name, include the word comedy as part of your name, and then, list the things that make you unique. And I'd say that even most importantly is having a clear call to action, like a specific website, and pointing them to it, right? So I think it's important to have a website that represents you. And so, like, as an example, I made up this character, Harry Hilarious. He's a lawyer by day, a stand-up comedian by night, turning legal jargon into punchlines. And, follow him for legal and illegal laughs. Catch him at his next show at harryhilarious.com, right? If that's his kind of stage name, then I would recommend having your stage name as your main website address, right? If your name is John Smith, that name is probably taken. So you can use like John Smith Comedy or John Smith Comedian, or, there's all kinds of ways, but you want to simplify on your website address strategy. And so, in addition, like you can actually leverage the platforms to build your brand inside of the platform. So you can see that she's pinned these posts, like including her tour, which again is themed for teachers. She's part of the Board Teachers Comedy Tour. All her little highlights have her brand. Like she's just a great example of somebody who's taking her comedy brand seriously, and it separates her from everybody else. Like she has a unique niche audience, and people can pay attention when they find her online. And so I'd say another important piece is you have to tell people what to do. Like as a marketer, this is something that I've learned to embrace, and I try to really bake this into all my clients' heads. Is like you have to tell people what to do. So as an example, like if you post something on social, the next thing you should do is tell them what to do, right? Join my email list so I can play your city. Like there's a clear button, join here. Watch my full special at Dry Bar. Like use this promo code, get tickets at this page. Like so much can be done just by telling people what to do. And you can do this at the end of your video. You can do this as a story. Like you want to be strategic in your social media presence. And so as an example, Bob, he did a kind of a silly post. And the next slide after that post was visit bobsmiley.com for upcoming shows. Like, you have to interrupt the pattern of what social media does, because again, social media, especially now, is designed to feed you an algorithm that keeps you scrolling, liking, and scrolling and liking and scrolling and liking. So you have an opportunity to actually point people to your website and move them closer to your ecosystem. And I'd say the last piece here is leveraging automation. So there are so many powerful tools out there now that you can stay connected to your fan base 24/7 even while you're asleep, right? If you can set up using tools like ManyChat, you can set up keywords that people post as a comment, and when you do that, you can actually activate an automated response, right? So it can be pretty sophisticated, but you set it up once and it'll work for you basically forever. And I'm sure you've seen this, like you've come across content where it says, hey, type the word X in the comment, and I'm going to send you a link to my resource. Well, you can do that, right? And for example, this is me. I said, type the word sellout, and I'm going to send you access to my social sellout course. And boom, like I sent a public comment that was automated, and I sent them a DM immediately. And this was while I was sleeping, pretty much. And so automation is super powerful. And we can actually even talk about automation as part of email as well. All right, I'm going to dive into email unless you have any thoughts about what we talked about so far, Scott.
No, I love it. I get those on social media too. Comment something and I'll send you something. I never get sent the thing. I always comment and it never comes. I don't know why that is. It's probably me doing something wrong, but I'm excited that you know how to do that, because that is obviously something that I need to learn how to do from you.
Yeah, this is like a super accessible tool for everybody. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that. I'd say the fourth foundation is email, and I've hinted at this. Like the main goal here of an email strategy is to stay connected with your fans so they show up to your shows, right? And so what's the main problem is that if you're only focused on social media, you don't own your audience, plain and simple. But if you have an email, you might be able to do that, right? So we're going to talk about that. You don't own your audience yet. So the fix is, number one, is starting an email list now, right? Like you probably have people you've interacted with. They're probably in your Gmail context. Like there's an opportunity to start putting them in one spot. And more than anything, you want to make it easy for people to give you their email address. You want to give them a reason to do that. And once you have them, you actually have the opportunity to stay engaged with them, sending updates that actually sell tickets and deepen the loyalty. And so like one easy way that I always offer for my clients is, make it so that people want to give you their information. Let's simplify the amount of information you're actually collecting. So, you can say, when is Bob coming to my town? Or when is Jimmy coming to my town? Or when is Frank coming to my town? Like that's probably the easiest one. You don't need a lot of information. The main thing is you want to make it simple for somebody to give you an email address. You kind of have a dangle a carrot. And for comedians, this is probably one of the easiest ways. I'd say another one is like, hey, join my list to get a free 5-minute set that's not available anywhere else, right? This is called a lead magnet strategy. And you've probably experienced this. You visit like a direct to consumer website, and the moment you log in, there's a pop-up that says, hey, want 25% off your first sale? Like that's a dangle, that's a carrot that's like really enticing. And so many people are, incentivized to do that. I'm not saying you have to do a pop-up, but it's the principle of making it easy for somebody to join your list. And when somebody does join your list, you can actually leverage automation to send them, what I call a nurture sequence, like getting them warmed up to you in their inbox, right? It's one thing for them to join your list. Now you actually want to actually capitalize on that attention and get them excited about opening your emails. And so what I like to do for my clients is build, like a 5-day sequence where that you get the first email, it waits one day, then they get another email the next day, and so forth. And you're probably thinking, oh, man, that feels like spam. No, we intentionally tell a story and create an open loop at the end of every email so that actually they're looking forward to the next one. And that's, nobody else is doing that on the comedy side. Like, you have such an opportunity to stay connected with your fans, and the best way is to prime them early to open your emails. And so then it's about actually sending them emails, right? This could be once a month, once every other week, and just telling them like, hey, I got things happening. I'm on tour. You can catch me in these areas. And this could be for fans and for bookers. Like, if you have a segmented list, you can send certain types of emails to certain people. Or maybe you have a huge fan base in Florida or New York. You can send emails to just that audience as you start collecting it. And now we've reached kind of the top of the pyramid here, which is, I'd say, the holy grail of building a brand that gets you seen, booked, and paid. And so really, once you have all those things, you have the opportunity to monetize. And this is about putting together offers. Before we get into that, any thoughts on the email side, Scott?
I'm excited about offers, 'cause that's the world we all want to live in, where you actually make the money. And as far as email goes, somebody asked in the chat, is texting as good as email? The rundown right now is that email still gets higher engagement. It's really the top engagement tool for communication. And if you can have both, if you can text people and email people, you're covering all your bases, and that's great. I wouldn't think of it as an either or situation.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that, David?
Yeah, I'd say email, I still think, is the old holy grail. Because you can send, different types of emails, different types of the year. Text, definitely, if you have the ability to activate texts, then that's super powerful because they have a huge open rate. It's like kind of like a 90+ open rate, but that's not always the best place to put out offers.
They open, but do they respond, and do they take action?
I think you'd have to be strategic about what you point people to, or just create awareness via text. So let's get into the monetize strategy. And this is really about turning your comedy into cash beyond ticket sales. We all want ticket sales, right? Like that's what everyone's always worried about. But there's a big opportunity to monetize beyond the microphone. And so the main problem is you're relying only on gigs to make money. And when that's true, you kind of in a desperate place. Like, you'll do anything to get on stage, even if it's like a drink ticket or $5 or like 20, so many comedians devalue their value because they want to get on stage, and certain comedy clubs or venues only take on a certain type of talent. And so you don't want to be reliant on only getting paid when you get on stage. And so the main fix is, number one, is like you have an opportunity to sell merch at your shows and online. We're going to get into that. You can turn your content into income via ads, tips, and bonuses. And you can actually offer paid fan experiences, like using platforms like Patreon or putting together like VIP meet and greet experiences. There's a lot of opportunity here. And so this is an example of one of my clients, Jimmy G. He's based in the Carolinas, and he's a former golf professional. So part of what we did is we, really leaned into his kind of golf background and created koozies and a shirt that says "Not Exactly Tiger" with like his, golf club bending and breaking and throwing. And so now he actually can sell this merch at his shows, and we set it so that he can sell it online. And the big opportunity with online is you can actually print on demand. You can have certain inventory so that there's a company that'll actually just print it the moment somebody buys it, and you just determine the profit margin that you want to keep. So like, I'm telling you, the technology that's available now is outrageous and incredible. And so in addition to selling merch, you can actually create memberships for your fans, right? So using platforms like Patreon or things like that, you can have like a monthly subscription offer where people who want to support you for maybe special access to special content or access to you on a monthly basis, like they're willing to pay you $5, $10, $15, $20 a month. And you might think, man, like that's not a lot. Well, if you have a huge and growing fan base, think about how much that grows over time, right? You can have a huge monthly income just from, making your fans happy. And so like that's a big opportunity. In addition, to that, like maybe you're thinking, I might never get a Netflix special or a Hulu special or something, but even if you're going to just do specials on YouTube, there's a unique opportunity you have to sell access to that special before anybody else can see it, right? So, posting something on YouTube, like there's no fee for that. But let's say I'm going to say, hey, I'm releasing a brand new special on New Year's Eve. But if you're part of my fan base and because you're on my list, you can actually get access early for $10, right? You can access it as early as October, right? So these are the kind of opportunities and strategies that you can deploy to monetize your fan base, because if they love your comedy, they're going to want to get first access to it. And in addition to that, like once you start growing a specific, fan base, you actually have the opportunity to leverage what the platforms offer in terms of ad revenue. Like they can actually activate certain ads so that you get some of that ad revenue. And some of the platforms even offer now the ability for your fans to tip you, right? So if you're doing like a live stream, even if you're not doing a live stream, your fans can actually leave you like little digital tips that you can redeem as cash. So monetizing right now is like easier than ever for a comedy professional, and that's what I want to encourage you to think about. And so those are the 5 foundation. I want to kind of quickly recap what we've covered. Right, I promised you I was going to talk through the 5 foundations that help you get seen and booked and paid. And so number 1 was about having the visual messaging that helps you stand out. Number 2 is having a clear website to convert. Number 3 is about having a social strategy so you can get found and discovered. Number 4 is about having an email marketing strategy where you can nurture your fan base over time. And number 5 is the ability to create unlimited offers so you can get paid when you're not on stage. And so from a goal standpoint, I'd say mission accomplished. We covered the 5 foundations. And so what I want you to think about is imagine having a brand that actually keeps bookers reaching out to you on a consistent basis. Like imagine having a system that turns fans into paying promoters. Imagine having recurring revenue even when you're not performing. Like that's the power of building your comedy brand. It gives you the ability to take control of your career. And so thank you so much for showing up. I hope that was helpful. We're going to do a Q&A in just a few moments. Before we go into that, number 1 in the chat, just tell me, maybe something that stood out. Love to hear like what was kind of one major takeaway. And as you're doing that, I actually want to share something really special that I've been building behind the scenes that I'm excited to launch today. And essentially, I've been building this because I've been talking about the 5 foundations. I do this presentation at comedy festivals all around the world, and I could get a lot of people to get excited. You're like, yes, but like Scott said earlier, sometimes that can feel complicated because you need like 6 different tools just to have an email list and a website and all that sort of stuff. And so I've actually created what I call is like the complete comedy business platform. And I like to position it as like the direct to fan platform for comedians. And so it's all the tools you need to get seen, booked, and paid, and consistently in one simple dashboard. And so I'm going to tell you a little bit about it now. Because it might feel put a 1 in the chat if you've ever felt like frustrated with managing multiple platforms, right? You have one for social posts, you have another one for sending emails, you have another one for a website that you don't even remember how to use. Maybe you have another one like if you want to do automated DMs, you have to activate that. If you want to sell products, you have to activate another tool, and another one just to kind of see your analytics. Like, is any of this working? It could feel like a cruel joke. And so, what if you had everything in one simple place where you can do that? Your brand, your website, your social, your email, your offers, all in one simple dashboard. And so that's exactly what we built with Comedy Dash. And so just really briefly, I made this platform so that we can go through each of the 5 foundations. You have a place to actually map it out. So in the platform, you can actually create your visual identity kit. So you have your choice of fonts, colors, and visuals, so that when you create branded templates and you're posting content via email or social, everything looks uniquely like you, right? So it's not like this kind of scatterbrained DIY approach. It's all officially branded as you. I've also made it so that you can actually build your website in using our proven framework for getting more fans and bookers to activate you, right? So you have one place to send bookers and fans, and this essentially acts as your press kit and your booking page. Actually, let me back up a little bit, because the one thing I did on this platform is I actually built in the main structure that I built all of my comedy clients in. So the moment you log in, it's already there. You just have to change a few things, and now you have your own customized website that's proven. Number 3 is your social, right? The ability to schedule, post, and reply easily. If you're managing multiple social media accounts, like it might feel like I have to jump from one to another. I have to do this at night. I have to switch from TikTok to Instagram. Like, what if you had just one place where you can post everything at once? And that's exactly what you have. Like, you have a multi-platform scheduler, and we've built in the tools so you can do the keyword automation. So if somebody posts a specific keyword on one of your Instagram or Facebook posts, it's going to automatically respond with the link of your choice. And on the 4th foundation, email, this platform allows you to basically send as many emails as you need to and grow your email list. There's no limits on how many fans you can have or bookers on there, and even set up automated sequences, right? So the moment they join your list, you can actually activate, sending out those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 emails. It doesn't have to be every day, but I've built in the basic framework that all of my clients use to warm up their fans and get them excited about opening their emails. And then lastly, you have the ability to actually sell products, right? You can sell your merch, you can sell digital downloads, you can put together checkout pages, you can even send invoices to, the bookers who owe you money, right? So everything has been built in so you can monetize beyond the microphone and sell directly to your fans. And so the beauty of it is that it's all in one view. It's one dashboard. That's why I called it Comedy Dash, because I want it to be as simple as possible. It basically acts as your command center. And so you have quick access to everything. And so if you had to kind of put all these pieces on its own, if you had to activate Squarespace for your website, Buffer and Later for your social and ManyChat, essentially all those fees on a monthly basis add up to $233 a month, right?
David, I have to correct you there. So before I switched, I was paying about $1,400 a month, because a lot of the email providers will charge you if your list grows. So if you hit certain thresholds, like 1,000 subscribers, 2,000, 5,000, 10,000, places like ActiveCampaign, MailChimp, they'll increase the rate. And so you're locked into these incredibly high rates, plus all the other tools. So yeah, 1,400 was where I was at.
Yeah. I mean, that's true. You've gotten to a place where you have such a huge fan base and follower base that they basically penalize you for growing. And I don't want to penalize comedians for being successful. I want to activate them and support them. And so if you were to activate all these tools on their own, at minimum, you're spending over, about $2,800 a year. And so I thought, man, what would it look like if we put all this in one place and made it actually affordable for comedians to use? And so, basically I put all these tools together so that you're not paying $2,800 per year, but you're only paying about $79 a month, right? So less than $100 a year, which is essentially $948 a year. And so if you had that, you're cutting it basically a third down. And I feel like, man, that's going to serve this audience really well. But then I was like, you know what?
And think of that for a second, David. These tools are tools that you need daily, to get bookings and stuff. But if you go out one night and get dinner, that's $80. So the idea that you wouldn't spend that same amount on your career and on making more money to invest that money to make more back, it's a no-brainer. So I just wanted to throw that in there.
Yeah.
But I think you have even better news.
Yeah, I thought, this is a new platform. I want some early feedback. I want to make sure that it's actually supporting you guys who are here watching live and watching on the recording. And so I thought, you know what, I want to make it an even more irresistible, helpful platform. And so I've actually created an annual version where we actually even cut that in half. So for only $4.97, which is essentially equivalent to $42 a month, you actually have access to all the tools that I've talked about here. And I just want to make it like a no-brainer for you. And so that's basically the main offer. But you think that would be enough? I actually wanted to put together a special gift.
That it would be enough because that's cheaper than any other product that offers all those things combined. And I did, when I was paying 1,400 and I needed to switch, I did all the research, and nobody gives you all that for under $50. Like literally nobody does it. The lowest you're ever going to find is like 97 a month. So that is amazing.
Yeah. Well, I want to give a special gift for everyone who's here and watching. I decided to put together my comedy brand bundle as an add-on, right? So the tools include like Canva templates so you can promote your upcoming shows, the banner templates so that as you like promote yourself on the social platforms, it's all using your existing brand. The exact website wireframe that I use to build my client websites, and email templates so that when you are reaching out to bookers or following up with bookers or anything like that, like you're not starting from scratch, right? It's not a blank canvas. And so it was important to me that you have the tools you need to take your comedy career to the next level. And so in addition to the tools, I actually have some trainings that I think would be super helpful. Number one is the social sellout course, which is valued at $100. It's my best-selling course, and so I wanted to throw this in. And the replay of today's workshop, the Comedy Brand Masterclass. This is a workshop that I teach across the country, and so I wanted you to be able to have like lifetime access to it. And I've partnered up with some great people who can actually run your first meta ad campaign. Like let's say if you have an upcoming show, they are like meta geniuses and ad geniuses, and they're actually going to run your first campaign for you for free. And so like if you were to combine all of this in total, it's like $600 worth of value. And so what I want to offer to you today is if you sign up for the annual plan at the $497, I'm going to just throw this all in for free. Like I just want to give you everything you need to help you promote your comedy business. And so one more thing, since Scott's here, I want to give him an opportunity to talk about what he's thrown in as a bonus.
Yeah. So David, as soon as I heard about Comedy Dash and that you had made that, I was like, I'm in, and I bought it immediately. I think I was one of your first 10 buyers. It's such a no-brainer. Like you do have to spend money to make money, but I'm happy to spend, $40 a month to make 400. Like that's what we're talking about here. So I want to incentivize everybody to see the value in this by making it, again, a no-brainer with a lot more bonuses. So I think some people on this webinar probably already have my Comedy Mastermind app. Some of you may not, but I'm giving out free lifetime access to the app for anybody who buys David's bundle, the annual subscription to Comedy Dash. That's a $499 value. If you already have the app, shoot me an email, scott@howtowritefunny.com. You can gift it to a fellow comedian, and I'll be happy to send it to someone else if you already have it. So the app is amazing. I've been using it. It is my brain in a chatbot. It trained on everything I've ever taught, written, said. It's incredible. Like I use it to access my own brain, and it's great at getting feedback. It's great at career guidance. It's great at shaping ideas. So what an immense value. Getting really glowing comments from everybody who's used it. It's a web app right now. It'll be in the app stores in a couple of weeks, and you sign up. You don't have to put a credit card in or anything. We'll just give you lifetime access. It'll switch over to lifetime. And when the app is available in the stores, you sign in with the same email, and it'll work for the rest of your life in the app form.
Yeah. Well, I like to pose the question: what's better than Robo Scott? Uh, the actual time with Scott Dikkers himself. So why don't you tell him about this part?
Yeah, real Scott. I wanted to throw in this one more thing. So I do a lot of one-on-one coaching, and it's expensive. And occasionally I'll do a half hour for people, even though on my coaching site it's just an hour or a monthly coaching. And people who subscribe to me on Substack get a half hour every year. It's a great check-in to get people on track. And you're there, David. You see some of the amazing successes that people are having. They're launching stand-up careers. They're doing amazing. They're putting out books. They're blowing up on social media. Not to blow my own horn too much, but just this year, another one of the people that I mentored, who was my intern at The Onion, was nominated for Best Original Screenplay at the Oscars for Begonia, Will Tracy. And he's the second. Rob Siegel, who I mentored at The Onion also, he was nominated for an Oscar for writing The Wrestler. You mentioned The Studio, that Seth Rogen show. Someone else I mentored, Seth Reese, works on that show. My coaching really helps people. It really helps people understand what they need to do in the shortest amount of time to achieve the wildest dreams that they have in the comedy industry. And so, again, I think this is a no-brainer. I think everybody should have this if they have any serious aspiration to succeed in comedy. So I wanted to throw out what I think is a super valuable bonus in a half hour of coaching.
Amazing. But, it'd be one thing if that's where we ended. But truly, again, I'm invested in the long-term success of comedians. And so what I want to say is, like, any investment that you make in Comedy Dash is going to actually be applied towards any of my personal branding services through the end of the year. So through 2026, like, we will actually deduct what you've invested today towards any of the branding services, because again, I just want to make sure that you stand out, you win, instead of just kind of blending in, right? It's hard to win when you blend in. And so, like, if I had to put all the bonuses together, that's over $1,300 in value free with your annual subscription. We're just basically piling. This is like even more valuable than the platform in and of itself. And so again, I put it all together here so you can understand, like,
how do people get it, David? Where do they go?
Yeah. So if you want to get everything, including the visual brand, the website builder, the social tool, the email tool, the offers, all in one simple dashboard, along with, the bundles, the training, the service, and access to you and digital you, it's only $497, and you can access it by going to comedydash.com/founder. And so made it simple for you to access that. You can use that QR code or just access it here on the page. But basically, it's as simple as that. I'm going to keep this QR code up, so because I know that there were some questions that came in during the session. But basically, I've also included a little button up here, it should show up in a moment, for you to get Comedy Dash at the lifetime founder offer. So that's one more thing. The price that you get today is locked in as long as you're a paying client, right? So, we're going to continue to add features to the tools, and so I cannot guarantee that this price is going to stay the same when we start adding more and more features. And so I want to incentivize and, like, honor your commitment today with a locked in price point, right? So $497 annually, it's not going to grow any higher, for the access to the tools that you get today. And as we start to evolve and add more tools, like, that's going to be in there as well. And so,
yeah. And that's one of the most amazing things about this, is that if you grow your audience to 1 million people, any other platform you're on, you're going to be spending tens of thousands of dollars a month just to manage that list. This is just as powerful a tool as the other platforms for this. And locking in that price, like $42 a month, is insane. It's insane.
Yeah, I'm glad you feel that way too. So again, I want to give you the opportunity to get access to that. So you can use the button above, use the QR code, and again, like, if you join today during the session, you're actually going to get access to the other course as well, the website bootcamp, which is really kind of like my whole philosophy behind how to build the best type of comedy website. What's the reason? How do you get to the words? And it even includes, I didn't even put this on the slides, it even includes my own kind of GPT to help you with your content, specifically around positioning yourself on your website. So you kind of get access to the David Uribe brain as well, in addition to Scott's brain. So again, use the QR code here to access it and get all the bonuses. And yeah, excited to see who comes through and give you all the tools you need to grow your comedy career. So let's open it to Q&A. Any initial questions that we need to make sure we cover? I'm not seeing access to some of these questions anymore, so maybe you see them, Scott.
Yeah, I got a few, and it seems like the chat needs to be refreshed or something, because it seems like.
Yeah, I think I had some kind of lockout session. I don't know. I don't want to. I don't know if I have to. I don't want to refresh here, but maybe we'll cover the initial ones that came through.
Yeah. So John asked if there was a follow up on the 5-day sequence. I think and what is a 5-day sequence? Do you know what that means, David?
The 5-day sequence was that nurture email sequence that I said.
Gotcha.
Yeah, when somebody joins, ideally, you're warming them up for it. So you can always extend that more than 5 days. You don't always have to do it like, consecutive days. You can do it consecutive weeks. But the tool really gives you the ability to activate that as soon as you want. And then you can send out what's called broadcast emails, so that you can do that easier over time.
Yeah, and it's good to have a nurture sequence and then be consistently emailing at least once a week, just to stay in touch with people, give them a little something, a little piece of your comedy. That's always good to follow up. Sarah asks, how do you decide whether to use your own name or a stage name? My surname is memorable but hard to pronounce. I get this a lot. I don't know how you feel about it, David. I'd be eager to hear, but I'm a big fan of an accessibility friendly name. Carrot Top, great example. If your last name has 10 syllables, consider shortening it. Like Louis C.K. did that. CK is a shortened version of his name. And the people who do that generally fare pretty well, because in the entertainment business, simplicity and accessibility are crazy important. What do you think?
Yeah, for sure. I think there's people who are concerned about, like, my name might be hard to spell or hard to pronounce. Like, you don't realize that we've already adapted to so many, professionals with unique names, and they've kind of decided to double down on it, right? And so, like, again, Azar Usman, he can use a different name, but that's his name. I've heard people who are like unique spellings. I think, you have two ways to go about it. Like, double down on what makes you unique, and your name could be spelled uniquely, or come up with a stage name that's easy to remember, that still kind of embraces some aspect of that.
Yeah. Similar question. Is there a way to promote oneself anonymously? So this is really tricky. And the only time I've ever seen it done successfully, with the exception of, I guess, people who have a totally fake name, but they're still out there with their face and stuff. Only time I've ever seen it done successfully was in the 70s with the Unknown Comic, the comic who had a bag over his head. He was a big celebrity and nobody knew who he was. I don't know that that would work today. You could try it. I think that's a self-sabotage trick that your brain is trying to pull, that it wants you to hide, because comedy is the opposite. Comedy is about putting yourself out there. So I would resist the urge to be anonymous. Now, if you're doing some other medium besides comedy, if you're writing, totally you can be anonymous. Put a pen name on that, never show your face, you're good. You can be like John Swartzwelder of The Simpsons, who's written more Simpsons scripts than anybody, and he literally has never been photographed. But it's tricky. It's introducing an impediment that it's just going to make things 1,000 times more difficult for you. my 2 cents on that. Those are the
Yeah.
only questions I was able to grab before it seemed like the chat froze. If there's a way, can we
Yeah, I refreshed here. I don't know if you can see me.
people raise their hands? Maybe is that a thing that this platform has?
Let's see. Let's see if I'm seeing anything. Oh, I am seeing in the chat. I managed to refresh it on a different screen.
Oh, great.
Okay.
How can I do that? Or you can
Yeah,
some chat.
I can keep it going. So let's see. Um, because of my let's see, I'm building a production company with my wife that has multiple facets: film, theater, comedy, podcast. Would this system work for a business like that? Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, for sure. Like this is essentially like a business in a box, right? You
Yeah.
have everything you need to communicate with prospects, with fans or customers. Like it's really about the framing of it. So you actually have all the tools you need to, send invoices, to put together products. My passion is to serve the comedy community, so I've named it intentionally and kind of built my templates into it. But yeah, it would totally help. It would be
The
helpful.
links with Stripe, your bank account, PayPal, however you want to get paid. Super clean, super simple.
Yeah. Um, Someone said, PJ said, what is the optimum time for jumping into the paid promotional stuff when you're featuring, when you're touring, when you're moving past open mics and into paid gigs?
The paid promotional stuff.
Yeah, I guess I'm not sure I understand the paid promotional. I guess it means like running ads, perhaps.
Oh,
Um,
yeah. Paid ads. I think it's good to experiment with all of this stuff as early as possible. If you have no fans, why wouldn't you experiment with paid ads to get some fans? Like bring some people in. As long as you can position yourself with some funny video, a funny hook, bring people in to start building fans. And why shouldn't you have a product? Why shouldn't you monetize yourself with a book or a special when you have no fans? Because then you have something. And so that's how you build fans. They always say, like, dress for the job you want, not the job you have. And I say, build your business for the business that you want, not the business that you have. Have all these products, have all these things going. Obviously, as much as you can afford. You don't want to kill yourself spending money on ads if your return on investment isn't there. But yeah, I say I'm pretty bullish. I'm pretty aggressive about this stuff, and it's how I see people succeeding the most is when they try really hard to do as much as they can, as fast as they can, as early as they can.
yeah. Let's see what else. You see, did you say you can make graphics in there or simply save the templates? So, great question. So the main thing, I'd say the main value is you can set up your brand logo. If you already have a logo, you can set it up. You can set up your colors and your fonts so that when you're creating any upcoming content, it's already primed and ready for you to select, right? So you don't have to kind of go through the motion of like, what font is this, all that. There are integrations. You can actually integrate with Canva. There's all sorts of tools that you can integrate with. So even though this platform is not necessarily the graphics creating platform, it is a communication platform, right? So you can bring in your graphics and you can actually distribute it all from one place, especially on the social media side. That's probably where it's going to be the most valuable, is that you can, if you have a graphic or a video, you can send it from one spot and it's going to distribute it to all the platforms at once. So hopefully that clarifies it a little bit.
Yeah, and it's super user friendly. It's got a great UX.
Yep.
Yeah.
Let's see. Someone asked, does the price go up after the first year? No, as long as you are on it, the price is going to stay the same for life, right? I'm not increasing the price on this tool set. And again, as we add certain features, those are going to be just part of it. And so that's why I'm calling this a founder offer, is because I want this to be something that, again, I give you early access, get, all the feedback that we need to kind of continue to improve it. But for anybody who joins the founder offer, and by the way, this is only available for the next like three or 4 days. I want you to be able to leverage that. So you can get access to Comedy Dash using that link right there. Let's see. what other questions do we have in here? I know we're a little bit over our time here, so the main thing is that we're gonna send out the link via email and the replay, which is only going to be available for a couple days. So if you're ready to, invest in yourself with Comedy Dash and get all the bonuses, like the $1,300+ of free bonuses, then you can access that using that link below.
Yeah, and again, the locking in the price early is one of the best selling features of this. It's why I grabbed it, because these kinds of tools are known for raising the rate. And to lock in a lifetime rate is priceless because it's so cheap. It's like, yeah, I can't even imagine anything cheaper to get what you get. Which is why I wanted to introduce you to everybody on my list, David.
Yeah.
So thanks so much for your presentation, for building this. You're amazing, and you do so much hands-on work. Like you mentioned to me, you're going to do a little how-to video if people are overwhelmed by like the platform and how to use it. You're going to make little how-to videos so people can just easily get some walkthroughs. Okay, how do I get in? How do I use it? How do I get started? And it's super simple. Once you know it, it's going to just reduce the amount of time you spend on all this stuff and get you started on some things that you aren't doing that you should be doing, like, email sequences, automations, offers. So it's great stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I want to make it as simple as possible for people to get on the platform, know what they need to do. And that's why like this founder offer is super helpful, because like as I connect with you, as we do like maybe a group onboarding calls and that sort of stuff, like I can really understand like what are the difficult parts, what are the things that we need to make easier. So I'm definitely going to be building a library of information to help navigate the platform. Again, we've tried to make it as easy as possible, but happy to provide resources.
Beautiful. All right. Well, thanks again, David. Thanks for everybody for sticking it out with us. And I hope to see you in there in the Comedy Dash. You're going to love it.
There you go. Have a
So
great
happy
day.
everybody. Take care. Bye.
Bye.